Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 6 of my all seasons travel trailer build. Eddie, as I affectionately call this trailer, is coming along nicely, and this is the most exciting step of the process for me. I'm going from a metal frame to the actual framed structure of the trailer, so you'll really get a chance to see what exactly I'm building. It's going to be on a 7-foot by 12-foot metal trailer frame that I've already built. That was in episode 4 if you want to check it out. In this process, I'm going to be making a very solid weatherproof flooring system that I'll show you how I did it. And then we'll put the framing up and I'll show you exactly how that went. At the end of the video, I'll show you a little bit of what I did during the video and also a quick summary of what I have planned next for the next video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so you don't miss any videos of the build as it goes on in the future. And if you like it, I really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks Princess Auto for sponsoring my channel and the support for this trailer build. It's much appreciated. So let's jump into things. So here's a quick summary of the metal trailer build from episode 4. My buddy Andrew from Windsor Metalworks constructed this trailer for me based on my design. The new trailer compared to the old trailer from the original Eddie that has been deconstructed. So after sanding off all the surface rust, I gave it a coat of black paint to protect it from the elements. And the flooring starts with 3/4 inch construction grade plywood. Before I even painted the trailer, I was cutting the plywood to the dimensions of the trailer, which again is 7 feet wide and 12 feet long. I made sure the seams of the plywood met on the cross bracings of the trailer, which is a 2x2 steel tubing. I was very concerned about the wood having water damage. My experience from taking apart the original trailer was that the entire floor was rotted from water damage. So I was very concerned about preventing that. And ultimately I decided to go with an aluminum protective bottom to protect the plywood from the slush and snow and rain that would continually affect it on the highway and the roads that I'd be driving on during the winter. So I took 4x8 sheets of aluminum and I left myself 2 inches on each side, and I very crudely bent it at a 90-degree angle to form what I kind of describe as a baking dish. And just by using a sledgehammer, a 2x4, I was able to get a fairly good 90-degree angle. Again, it's not pretty, but it doesn't have to be. It's not going to be seen. I was able to flip it over, and I did this with 4 sheets of aluminum. I cut out the wheel well sections and left the flaps up because I didn't know at this point what I was going to be doing with the wheel wells. Made sure that there was a good section of overlapping aluminum. I used construction adhesive on top of the metal frame to hold the aluminum sheets in place. This might have been overkill, but I wanted to make sure that the aluminum did not move around, mainly during the process of putting it on and putting the plywood on. Made sure the seams were tight and sealed with the adhesive that I had between the 2 overlapping pieces of aluminum. spray adhesive to cover the aluminum area where the plywood would be sitting, just to make sure that there'd be less chance of moisture getting between the aluminum and the plywood. I actually went underneath the trailer and rolled the aluminum onto the plywood as well. Once that was completed, it was time to bend the 2-inch flap of aluminum over top the 3/4 inch plywood. Again, this was done pretty crudely, but as long as I didn't puncture the aluminum, it was going to create a water seal protecting the edge of the plywood from any moisture. The next step was to apply butyl tape between the folded up aluminum and the 2x2 steel framing of the trailer frame. So after the butyl tape was applied, the finishing touch would be a metal flange that would cover the butyl tape and then be the support for the wooden framing. This was my father-in-law's idea, and I'm really happy that I went along with it, because I really think it finishes it off nicely and it will make for a very solid, secure way of attaching the wooden frame to the metal trailer. I used stainless steel bolts to attach the flange through the 2x2 metal tubing of the trailer. Had to clean up some of the metal cuttings, keep the trailer clean. I constructed most of the wooden framing inside my garage using mainly 2x2 construction with 2x4s used at the corners and the high stress points. Most travel trailers are constructed using 2x2s, so having the occasional 2x4 involved in my framing made me feel that it was going to be that much sturdier. I also felt having the 2x4s in the corners made for a more secure way of attaching the panels. First two walls put together. Having already cut the plywood on the trailer, I was able to put it on my garage floor, and I knew the dimensions that I had to work with. As long as I ensured the framing was square, it would be okay even though my cement floor was not perfectly flat. The front of the trailer was going to have a peak on it, and the peak was going to be the height of a countertop that will eventually be inside. Cutting the angles was a little tricky, but I think I nailed it. I attached all the framing with screws and wood glue as well. This panel would have the first roof joist attached to it. My miter saw wouldn't cut steep enough angles, so I used my jigsaw to cut some of the miters for the front. Here is an example of where the cooler and shower will be when the trailer build progresses. Because my garage floor was not completely flat, I routinely put the panels back onto the metal trailer so that I can ensure the angles were square, especially for the door opening. After several dry fits, it was time to officially attach the panels onto the trailer. With the help of my son Pierce, I was able to get the first two panels up and secured with some clamps. Once the panels were in place, I was able to use stainless steel screws through the metal flange into the wooden framing. Once the first two panels were up, it was time for the front to go in. I clamped a 2x4 at the bottom to hold it in place for me. The opening to the right is where there'll be a window over the kitchen counter. And where I'm framing now is where the shower will be. Again, stainless steel screws were used to attach the metal flange to the wooden frame. Front door entrance would provide the biggest challenge during this framing process. My son Pierce once again helped me get the final panel in place. He was very enthusiastic to help out. You can see how it was perfectly square. The roof framing was built in panels, so this is the first panel going in, and there's a reason why each 2x4 is where it is. There's going to be two fans in the roof of this trailer, and other designs that will affect the way the roof joists are situated. This panel was a little flimsy, but I got it up there without damaging it. I should have actually called for Pierce, but I'm stubborn at times. And that is the framing to this point. So that's going to wrap up the video. Weather, unfortunately, has played a big factor in this build. A big reason why I had to build most of it in my garage to try to avoid the rain. I want to keep the wood as dry as possible. In the next step, I'm going to be continuing the framing around the wheel wells. I'll show you how I actually built The wheel wells, my friend Marty helped me construct those, and it's a really interesting process in how they were installed. We have some really cool tricks with my scissor jacks that I want to show you, and we'll show you how I'm going to frame in and where the windows will be going in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, and please subscribe. I'm really excited to share this with you. Cheers.